give you, not just in terms of telling you what it is, but more importantly, showing you where the direction is and how these has basically impacted society in general. All right. So an image that has been used widely across whenever we talk about technology and its evolution. So you see here, the main focus here is talking about technological changes. Yeah. A lot of times, whenever you try finding out why these changes has taken place all the way right from the beginning, which is just a simple pager, then it went into mobile phones to what we basically have today. A lot of those changes are highly impacted with two main reasons. Number one is basically what the users are looking for. But I think the second point is just as important as the first one, which is also what can the company provide? Yeah, what can all of our smartphone brands, company, what kind of technology can they incorporate? Who are the ones who are spearheading and being first to the market to introduce something new in terms of a functionality within the phone? So when you look at all those changes, right? So it's a direct result of development and innovation, R&D mainly. And a typical example here is looking at smartphones and to see what major changes are there. Yeah. Some of these phones that you see here, I've gone through these generations as well, knowing how they are like. Of course, when you start breaking them down in terms of the functionalities and what they can do, you will definitely notice a lot of changes that has basically taken place. So a quick question here, or rather a quick poll here. How do you think technology has changed society in general? Yeah, overall, if you look at it, what would you say is the main impact and change that technology has brought along mainly? So Ibrahim says everything is more fast-paced. Interestingly, time did not go faster, yeah. But thanks to technology, I guess we do feel that things can pass faster. People are stuck to their phones. So Muhammad Bakar says that more convenient in communication, made things much more convenient as overall. Aiden highlights that. Vivian says interaction make life easier. Jason insists that it made us lazier. How much of that is affected by technology within the society is honestly, I'm mentioning this based on what Jason says, yeah. It is very much what do you make out of it, yeah. It's very much what do you make out of it. Everyone watches YouTube, but it still goes back into what content do you watch on YouTube, whether it's useful to you or not, yeah. Everyone is on social media, but it really goes back into what you are gaining from social media that then shows those certain impact on you as well. Communication, convenience, make our life easier. Cheaper, accessible services, productivity, study methods change, education change as well. All right, so a lot of you highlighted definitely in terms of communication and information. I think one whole big area that everyone should always talk about, because I know you can give a lot of examples out of it, is definitely entertainment, right? So a lot of you say it make things easier to do, right? It make things easier to do. But on a day-to-day basis, I think I'm always hearing people saying it's difficult to do something. Yeah, it's difficult to achieve something. It is difficult to accomplish something. Whenever I ask probably students, for example, in particular, do they feel that going through a module and doing and accomplishing something is easier than what it was before, and with the existence of technology? Well, I may hear a different answer then. Yeah. What about why everything is still done? If it really makes things easier, aren't you supposed to achieve things better, right? The way we think, convenience promotes laziness and isolation through media, right? So I think that will always be there. But overall, I think what I want to focus here, I'm just going to stop this here. What I want all of you to focus here is to then see that, yeah, so there will be the pros and cons, right? There is a pro and con in everything that we do. There is a pro and con to everything that we go through and experience, and especially when we try to achieve something along the way as we go. Yeah. So there will be a pro and con. It all goes back into as well in terms of what you want to focus on mainly. Yeah. So with everything that you see there, of course, that's why you see that there are positive and negative impacts being highlighted here. Yeah, transport, communication, healthcare, e-business, all those areas have definitely been developed quite significantly. Yeah, you will see in terms of the changes that has taken place is definitely quite significant. Improve education and learning process, improve methods of agriculture. So based on the different areas that you see here, I think we can easily say you can easily identify an area or a field or an industry, and you will definitely be able to say that that has been improved, right? Has human resource management been improved? Yes. Has sales been improved? Yes. Has marketing been improved? Yes. Yeah. Remember that we went through effects of technology this week as well. Yeah. We spoke about how productivity is being affected. We spoke about how costing is being affected. So there's all those other areas as well. Now, when it comes to negative, yeah, so there are some areas in particular that has been highlighted here. Resource depletion, the resources in order to support technology. Lack of social bonds. I don't think I really need you to look particularly into this, but this is more in the context of the US. Higher energy consumption, development issues in children, right? In terms of how they are affected both mentally, physically, psychologically as well, increased population and increased pollution as well, right? So that's something I think we can all agree when it comes to looking at these negative impacts as we go. All right. Now, I do realize now that I'm going through this with you, I do realize that do not forget that our module is called Perspectives in Technology. Yeah, there are some comments I've given to last week's weekly task. Sorry about this week's weekly task. I'm still working on it. I've been quite tied up with a few things, so I have not given you my comments yet, which I will probably do, if not by tomorrow, then throughout the weekend. Is to highlight in terms of those areas which are positive and negative effects that you have highlighted, right? Please make sure that you do consider areas which are technologically inclined as well. A lot of you tend to only focus on business-related impacts. So what do I mean by that? You can save costs, you can save time, you can save manpower. To me, all of those are very business-related type of impacts. But you need to look at technology-related types of impact as well, right? What has it done for security? Has it really, because of technology, has it increased security? Or has it, while trying to increase security, it is also now vulnerable and open to other types of threats, right? What about accuracy, right? So those are positive and negative impacts in relation to technology. So I just highlighted two to you, right? One is in terms of security, one is in terms of accuracy, right? What about in relation to redundancy? Right? So before this, when we have everything which is physical, we have a lot of duplicates of information that we have simply because different departments require it, different parties require it. But now with technology, with everything being centralized, you reduce redundancy, right? You do not need to save files and files of cabinets and cabinets of files around just because different departments need to monitor certain information. Right? One update is done somewhere and everyone has to go into their files to update it. Now, with technology, you realize everything is centralized and everyone is looking at the same type of information. Yeah. So I want you to differentiate across when you're speaking about effects, or in this case, even impact, to differentiate across business-related points and also technology-related points, right? And I'm repeating this again. It is important for you to differentiate them, because at the end of the day, this module is called Perspectives in Technology. It's not called Perspectives in Business. Yeah. Yes, we do have a topic which is business and technology, which we have just covered as well. But that is only basically one component. So when you're explaining about it, do not forget that you're not only talking about business points, you're talking about technological points as well. Why is it important that technology is around? And why, when it is around, it does bring its own positive and negative impact. Yeah, some companies, after everything has gone online, yes, things become easy to access and so on and so forth. Now they are being threatened by attacks and threats, right? Which is what we're going to look at after this as well when it comes to cybersecurity. So this was something that was highlighted by some of you earlier as well when I asked you what is the impact. Some of you said, yeah, we are lazy now. We seem to take things for granted now. So a few are highlighted here. favor a quick fix, right? Because of technology now, that's how our society is like. You need to get information immediately and quickly. Otherwise, then to you, it is something that is being deemed as pointless. Yeah. Developing fear and developing certain types of fear in relation to technology being existent, even social media, for example, right? Some even going to the extent of worshipping technology. The word here is because when we say worshipping technology, meaning you are going to an extent that you cannot live without technology, right? Blur with the difference between what is real and what is fake. More importantly, we are also very different when we are online and when we are offline. Violence can be accepted much more these days due to technology. Love technology as a toy. Live our life distant and distracted, right? So I think someone highlighted earlier. I think it was Tina, if I'm not mistaken, who highlighted about isolation as well, right? So these are all different aspects of how the society has been impacted, and I think the takeaway here is that for us to see that there is some type of a balance that we may want to try achieving. So when it comes to the discussion of ethics in this case, yeah, you see ethics and technology here. So I have a quick question to ask you. I think I'm not going to necessarily pull anyone out because today we are a bit short of time, so I wanted to make sure everything is covered. But just to hear from you, what do you think is the difference between ethics and morals? Yeah, what do you think is the difference between ethics and morals? This is your own opinion. This is your own response to it. And I hope no one is particularly trying to Google this, because I think this involves a lot of common sense in general. All right, first very long answer came from Saad. Both morality and ethics loosely have to do with distinguishing the difference between good and bad or right and wrong. Many people think of morality as something that's personal and normative. Saad, what is normative? Whereas ethics is the standards of good and bad distinguished by a certain community or social setting. Wow. Ethics are like laws that govern people. All right. So sorry to do this to you, Saad, but I think this is one of the laziest that you can do. And I think I will definitely have to watch out for your group assignment and your assignment coming in when you are providing me with an answer. Yeah. So I just realized it's a direct copy and paste from what you find online. So sad. And I just wasted my time trying to read it. Ethics are like laws that govern people. Morals are just personal laws for oneself. Good point by Asfar. Yeah. Ethics is feeling. Moral is fixed, traditional value that has died, is it? Moral is to differentiate between good and bad, while ethics is a certain requirement of professionalism. All right. In a way, it's quite similar to what Asfar is saying as well. Ethics are actions based on ourselves individually, while moral are preset by society. This sounds like it's the other way around now, interestingly. Ethics is doing, moral is thinking. Oh, wow. A different take on it, but I think I like it as well. But both can actually still involve doing and thinking, yeah? Justice and manner, morals are just my personal value. Ethics are more general, which everyone should have. Good point by Zian as well. Don't know how to say, that's it. Nathan. Morals are your own, what is this? Blocking me. Morals are your own consciousness talking to you. Ethics is what most people do because everyone else does it. Aha. All right. Okay. So there are some very similar points, but some of you has tend to flip it around as well. Interesting on what Junyu is saying here. What is ethically correct might not be morally correct. Oh wow. Okay. Morals are about personal principles, but ethics are like what is accepted by the entire society. All right, so Uzma's answer is very close towards what the overall is. Ethics is society, morals are individual. Nice. By Shami as well. So a lot of you who has mentioned that, you are quite correct. One is being accepted more widely and universally, right? Throughout the world, yeah. Which basically relates towards ethics. Yeah. If it's something that can be widely accepted and everyone agrees to it, then that is ethics. If it's something that is a bit more individually related, family related, community related, in a geographical location part of the world related, then those are referred to as morals, right? So I'm starting from there. Of course, there's other areas as well, but I'm starting from there so that you can first see how are they different overall. Yeah. All right. I'm going to ignore what Saad just wrote. Samuel says agree with Junyu. All right. So as I highlighted just now, yeah, ethics is something which is a bit more widely accepted, is a bit more universal, and most people can accept it. Yeah, let me be clear with that. So first things first, do not. I think it's always easy for you to start the phrase with do not steal. Yeah, I don't think anywhere in the world there is a group or anyone or any individual that will say no, stealing is fine because it depends on what you're stealing it for. I think that is never a situation where stealing will be fine. Yeah, do not steal, do not kill, do not harm others. Do not respect your elders, for example. All right, respect older people. I think there is no culture, no community in the world that will say, no, you need the older people need to respect the younger people in the other way around. So you don't really see that. Yeah, morals on the other hand are the ones which can be very community based, region based, and so on and so forth. Right, and my go-to example is always when it comes to morals. For a quick example would be kissing in public. Yeah, for a quick example is kissing in public. Is it accepted here in Malaysia? Is it accepted mainly across this region and this part of the world? Right? I think the answer is mostly no. Right? But is kissing in public accepted in the Western side of the world? Then you realize, yeah, it's very common. It's part of their culture. You don't really necessarily need to be someone who is romantically inclined to then kiss each other. You can just be friends. You can meet someone for the first time and you can kiss them, you know, and that differs across. So that then relates to morals and morality. All right. It's important to first differentiate that, because then when we speak about technology, we always go into speaking about ethics. Yeah. Overall, when you are handling technology, when you are utilizing technology, what ethical areas that must be focused upon? Yeah. Avoid a moral application of technology. So don't worry too much about this sentence here. I used that question earlier so that you can try differentiating first across. So when it's something ethical, it's something universal. Most of the people most of the users are being affected by it, and that's why we're going to go through this. We're going to run through these 4 areas now: privacy, accuracy, property, and access. So evidently, the first one is when it comes to privacy. Yeah, look at the first statement on the far left. Privacy is a basic human right. I think that is something everyone must start off with, right? Privacy is a basic human right. So when you look at that as a statement, overall, I think with the existence of technology today, it has been very much more difficult for us to try achieving some levels of privacy of what is considered still private and what is considered not private. Yeah, a lot of our transactions on a day-to-day has been recorded. A few examples given here, from credit cards, loyalty cards, electronic toll passes. There's even more, right? What we search on Google is very much available towards a lot of our platforms and other services that we use. Yeah, what you look at through social media is constantly being recorded as well. It's constantly being audited as well, so that they know things that you like and so on and so forth. So I think those areas, that is definitely something that goes without saying. Yeah. So there are 3 views of privacy here: accessibility, decisional, and informational. The first one is, of course, privacy is being defined as one's physical being let alone be free from intrusion from into one's physical space. Yeah. So accessibility, privacy, first things first refers to what, where do you draw the line in terms of what personal information do you have that shouldn't be used for the wrong purposes. Yeah. So that's where the accessibility privacy comes along. So a quick simple one is whereby when you are providing your email, for example, right, to a platform, because that's the only way to log in. When you're providing an email, right, so what can this email be used for other than it is used to identify you? What can the platform that you have just used your email to log into, what can they use your email for, right? How much of it are they allowed to then monitor and track when it comes to you logging into their platform, right? So these are all relating to accessibility privacy. Decisional privacy, of course, this is the one, your right to say yes or no. Yeah, your right to say yes or no. If the website wants to spam you and send you a lot of emails, yes, they can. Yeah, but you as the user, you must have the right to say yes or no, which means you can say unsubscribe or please stop sending me emails. You must have that right. That right must be given to you. So that is a decisional privacy. Last but not least is informational privacy. So this is then controlling, as the last statement says there, the flow of one's personal information. So accessibility just now is then tracking everything that you do. Yeah. Informational privacy is then saying where can this personal information be shared with. Some organizations collect a lot of this, yeah. But if they're only using it internally for their own purposes so that they can serve you better, that is fine. But the informational privacy here refers into the flow of your personal information going into other places as well. Yeah. Until today, as we all know, social media or a lot of the platforms that you log into is basically selling a lot of your personal information, right? Things that they can track about you, things that they can use to profile you, all those are basically there. That's the only way that they can make money at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. A quick question. How many of you do not have any of these social media accounts? Do not have, yeah? Please note the question properly, yeah? How many of you do not have any of these social media accounts? If you don't have Facebook, click on it. If you don't have, oh, I should have given you multiple choices. I forgot whether this is multiple or not. I think it's not. I think you're only able to choose one. So one is fine for now. Which one of these? How many of you do not have any of these social media accounts? And I forgot to put one more option to then say, I have all of it. All right, more than half of you has responded. That's good enough. Okay, so one of you said you don't have Instagram. I think all of your friends will look at you and their jaw will drop to say that, really, you don't have Instagram? 4 of you don't have Facebook. I think your generation not having Facebook has become more and more, to be honest. I guess you're not there yet, but if you are if you look at your seniors now, those in second year and third year of their degree, having Twitter is something that has become very, very common. Yeah, all right. 6 of you said you don't have TikTok, and then of course, evidently, Pinterest not being the most popular among these 5 here, 16 of you said that you don't have Pinterest. Yeah. Dinesh said, I don't have 3 from the options. Oh, okay, wow. Sauda says, I have all of it. Yeah, so yeah, I should have given that option to say that you have all of it, or the options for you to then say that you don't have more than one of it there. All right, so when it comes to privacy issues, well, the first things first, as you can see there, is violation of privacy. Yeah, different organizations have a different policy when it comes to this. So look at the first point. Can they access individuals' private email conversations and computer records? Yeah. So if it's a private email conversation, that is something that all of the providers, may it be Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Hotmail, what other emails are around? I'm not aware of. All those, if there's any private type of email conversations going on one-to-one and so on and so forth, they are not supposed to gain any access to those information. Yeah, everything should be encrypted and they're not able to see it. Collecting information about individuals' visits to the internet website. Yeah, what is this? What is the purpose for? Is actually just as important. Yeah, to reflect in terms of whether this is something appropriate or not. Computer monitoring, always knowing where a person is, always knowing what you are doing. Yeah, every time you log in with under the APU's Wi-Fi, if when you are here, do you think we monitor you? We have to. Yeah, for a lot of reasons, we have to monitor in terms of if there's any violations that are being done on the network. Computer matching. So as you can see, this is of course for marketing purposes, looking into specific business services is whereby customer information gained from many sources to market additional business services. And you notice this happens a lot with our social media. But to be fair, on social media, it has always been quite transparent to a certain extent to you to tell you that they are doing it. Unauthorized personal files, yeah, all this from telephone numbers, personal details, yeah, email addresses, credit card numbers, and so on and so forth to then build a customer profile out of you. So a lot of this can also be highlighted as a privacy issue. So when it comes to cyber ethics, ethics may be treated a bit differently when it comes to understanding and seeing it in the context of technology. Yeah. So that's why you see here, based on cyber ethics, some aspect of the impact must be examined. You must evaluate social policies. Some are acceptable in certain parts of the world, some are not acceptable. So you need to look into that as well. But essentially, it covers two main areas: computer ethics and internet ethics. So computer ethics, of course, speaks about all of your machines and devices mainly. Internet ethics, on the other hand, then refers mainly towards communication technologies. So it must be able to govern those areas. Yeah. I am not sure if this is a new word that all of you have is seeing for the very first time. Yeah. So it's called netiquette. So instead of just mentioning the word etiquette, we are talking about etiquette when you're using the internet. So there are 12 points here. I think they're all very relevant. I'll just highlight a few to you. Number 2, respect. A lot of people on the internet, I feel, is because you don't know each other, it's much more easier for you to disrespect each other. Yeah. As human beings, I think we all realize that we will show respect when you know who it is. We will show respect when you realize who they are. But because everyone on the internet may not necessarily portray themselves as who they are, we may not necessarily show respect in that sense. Yeah, and therefore, when we say respect, is having patience for certain things, like having patience for mistakes, as shown here. Saying please, saying thank you, right? How many of us really practice that on the internet per se? Words that we use, criticism, right? A lot of this has been quite rampant. It's everywhere. As a lot of people has been speaking about nowadays, if you go online, happy news are much more less being looked at in comparison to bad news. Yeah, more and more people are more interested to look at bad news, and I think it's something that comes naturally to a lot of us as well. Yeah, if something is working fine and it's all good, I think when you read it in the news, you go like, okay, but everything is fine. Why are you reporting it for? Yeah. And there's a lot of other areas as well, which I think is worth for you to go through because this form quite an extensive guideline for you to take into consideration. Yeah. So when we are discussing about ethics and technology across, I think the two main areas which are highly being affected is definitely how we see e-commerce is now, right? More and more people are getting onto it. More and more people are forming networks and communities on these platforms as well. And not to forget computer technology in the workplace itself. So when we try understanding this across, there are different issues, right? In relating to e-commerce. Access, that's the first thing. Yeah, some companies have been fully online now, which means if you go to them and say, "Oh, your business is only running on WhatsApp, but I don't have a smartphone," then what happens then? Yeah, so obviously a lot of times when you find a business that is fully on WhatsApp alone, they will tell you, if you're not on WhatsApp, obviously you are not really my targeted customer. Yeah. Intellectual property, that is also an issue of electronic commerce, where everyone can easily copy off your ideas in terms of what you do. Privacy and informed consent is an area of e-commerce as well. How much of your information can actually be used for the purpose of promoting products to you? Protection of children. Yeah, so this is also again an ongoing debate in a lot of many areas as well, a lot of many aspects as well. Here's an interesting one that have came up probably a bit more in the US in the recent years. Yeah, should parents post pictures and photos of their babies? Think about it. right? Should not. If some say, yeah, they should, they can, then the next question comes along is, did your baby provide the permission? Yeah, because remember, you are still dealing with information and personal, private details of an individual. Yeah, obviously, obviously, when I say that, whether you have gotten the permission of your baby or not, again, how do you get permission from a baby, right? And if you cannot get permission, what does that mean? Then you shouldn't be posting anything online because you don't have the permission, right? How many of you agree to that? Can I see a show of hands? How many of you agree that parents should get the permission of their babies before they post things online? 1, 2, 3, how many? Interestingly, I think a lot of you are raising your hands. I think some of you are from a generation where your parents probably have posted stuff about you as a baby. Yes, no? This was 17, 18 years ago. Maybe not so common then, yeah? But the newer parents nowadays, I think their baby pictures are everywhere, all over on social media already. And you are going to grow, and these babies are going to grow up one day, joining the industry, working, studying later on, to find out that, oh, if I Google my own name, I realize all of my naked baby pictures are all online. Is that appropriate? Is that not appropriate? Right? Again, security of information and of course building trust as well is something very much of an issue concerning electronic commerce. Yeah, are there scammers on Shopee and Lazada? There are a lot of people who have shopped there ends up paying for a particular item. Things are not arriving as what they are being advertised and promoted for. Yeah, so all those are an ongoing issue. So Nihat says, I don't know, they don't care how you look, they just post. Tina says, embarrassing childhood pictures posted without our permission. Yeah, so like I said, if you ask parents will say, well, it's my baby. Don't I have the right to post about my baby, right? So when we are discussing about privacy and ethical issues, the ruling is simple, right? You must always get the permission of the person that you want to post about. Right, so that's why more and more of our social media functionalities move towards there as well. So I've just highlighted scams. I mentioned about invasion of privacy, so you can see all those are ongoing issues as well. Yeah, other privacy issues, identity theft, unintentionally revealing personal information. This can be issues as well. Loss or stolen personal information, fake websites, government distribution of information, misleading information. Right, e-commerce has also been impacted by that. Victim of spying by all different people, cyber stalkers as well. Yeah, so and I think I highlighted before last week when I asked in terms of cyberbullying, and before that and now that you see the term cyber stalking, for example. Yeah, a lot of countries, Malaysia is also included, then does not, I have to say, unfortunately, does not have sufficient acts and laws to really address areas as such. Okay. Sardar is saying, your children are your property. You made them come to life. And if I say that to my father, you didn't take my permission, then I have to be ready for the beating. So Sardar, you have to understand, not everyone's father is like your father. Anyway, it will be interesting to, of course, look at, so as you can see, in terms of privacy that is posed by the internet, we all know about cookies, on how important they are in order to provide us with a seamless and important experience while using the internet. However, for the same reason, cookies can also be used against us. Yeah, look at that point there. Over 50% of people do not know what cookies even are. Yeah, spam, indiscriminate sending of unsolicited email messages to many internet users. I think we have all experienced it. It depends on how often you check your email, and once you do, you can definitely identify that. Identity theft was already mentioned earlier. Flaming. So now you notice this is taking spam into another level, right? So as you can see here, sending extremely critical, derogatory, or often vulgar email messages or news group postings to other users on the internet. This always happens like when you see people replying to each other. Yeah, so that is then referring to flaming as well. And if let's say you are posting hate, which what they are always referring to like hate crimes, you post negative stuff online, which your purpose is not for the reason of trying to solve that issue. is just for the purpose of ranting, right? It's just for the purpose of complaining with no solutions provided. Yeah, so that's why they often become that. They can be vulgar in nature as well. So when it comes to cyber crimes, the cybercrime cover many different areas. Yeah, unauthorized use, unauthorized access, unauthorized modification and changes, physical destruction of hardware, software, and data. All those will fall under cybercrime. Unauthorized release of information, copying of software. So point number 3, I think a lot of people are still involved with this until today, right? A lot of you watches stuff online, right? You do download them as well, right? So I think you are definitely well aware enough. Any single thing that you have downloaded online, and if it's free, you have definitely committed a crime, right? So I think that's quite straightforward as well, especially with your animes. I'll just stop at animes. Yeah, there's so many other things you are downloading online as well. And denying end user access, if it's to your own resources, using or conspiring to use resources illegally to obtain certain information as well, right? So the last point is trying to highlight that if you have utilized certain tools that is available to you, but for the wrong purposes as well, it also becomes an issue. Yeah. Simple enough. If you're working while you're working and you utilize company property to then go on social media, or you utilize company property to then do something personal, right? So all those to a certain extent can be also categorized as cybercrime. Yeah. So what you see here, I'm not gonna open this. This is something additional for you to look at in terms of the current trend. So it's highlighted here. The website says 39 worrying cybercrime statistics that I want you to refer to at your own time. Okay, I'm not sure why is this empty. So another area is, of course, from talking about the internet, we then go into computer technology, right? So talking about your physical devices and machines and so on and so forth. Overall, what's highlighted here, as you can see, the word is surveillance. Yeah, everything is being monitored. Companies are monitoring their employees. Companies are monitoring and blocking access to certain websites as well. Not just companies, guess what? Countries are doing it as well. More and more countries are doing this. Telephone, monitoring all the time spent on those apps and so on and so forth. Video surveillance, right? There are so many CCTVs around now, and that brings me to my next point as well. When you look at CCTV, so that this came from Digital Information World, a study that highlights which countries have higher surveillance via CCTV footage cameras. Only certain countries are highlighted here. Evidently, you will see more that is in relation to India and China, but that's not my point here. Yeah, my point here is for you to see how much surveillance go into a certain location. Look at this, 660 cameras per 1 kilometer square. Yeah, so 1 kilometer is not a lot. Yeah, I suddenly can't think of how to explain in layman terms how far 1 kilometer is, but I think you can definitely imagine in terms of 1 kilometer square, right? 1 kilometer multiplied by 1 kilometer, you find 660 CCTV cameras within such a small area, right? So you can imagine that the rest are still 480, 411, 400, 300 plus cameras. So more and more countries in the world today are doing this. So if you notice, it's not just India and China as highlighted there. There's many different parts of the world where CCTV footage and surveillance are being done more and more, right, across different countries as well. I'm quite sure for most of our international students, you can also reflect and to see whether your own country is also implementing more and more CCTVs around. Yeah, the whole idea is to basically protect the people, protect the citizens. But at the same time, misuse of it can also be used against the citizens. Yeah. So unethical employee activities here are just given. Giving you some examples. Yeah. Of course, as you can see, created a dangerous situation by using new technology while driving. It is evident. It has even become a law and an act throughout the world. You shouldn't text and drive. Yeah. Blame error on technological glitch. Students' #1 favorite. Yeah, students' #1 favorite when it comes to if anything goes wrong, blame the technology. Yeah, because that's the easiest way for you to get out of something. Copying company software, using office equipment. I just highlighted this to you earlier, access files without permission, intruding your co-workers' privacy, visiting porn websites, and even playing games at work, right? So all those can definitely be an unethical practice overall. So you see here in terms of software piracy, right? It was highlighted earlier. I think I don't need to mention more about that. It's unauthorized copying of not just computer programs, but a lot of different aspects as well. As I highlighted earlier, it can be music, it can be videos, it can be series, movies, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So one aspect of it, of course, to try curbing software piracy is you see how licensing basically works today. Yeah, a lot of aspects of licensing now requires you to be online. So licensing is one way of trying to reduce software piracy overall. Yeah. So when we are looking into software piracy itself, as you can see until today, it is still affecting the industry a lot. A third of the software industry's revenues are lost due to piracy. Yeah. And basically on this point, you will easily get to see across in terms of, oh, I thought this will appear. Where does piracy happen across the world? This was posted basically last year in terms of certain countries in the world where you see license misuse, cracked softwares, and also piracy hotspots. Yeah, so a lot of these countries where you see is a bit more common to find them there as well. From time to time, again, this may change and be updated per se. Yeah, but you still see that evidently happening. Yeah. So when it comes to intellectual property, so this relates a lot to the music and the videos and the movies and the animes that you've been downloading as well, because you are violating intellectual property that belongs to someone, right? So when someone has a copyrighted material, it basically stops other people from distributing it on their own, avoid other people from making money out of it, and so on. Okay, so copyright infringement, this is serious, and this is something that is definitely considered illegal. So it's important to then reflect on areas of intellectual property as well, right? One of the things that is being seen as the enabler for people to just share intellectual property together is, as you can see, P2P networks, yeah, peer-to-peer, torrents, all those that you find online, and they are the ones that has become a problem. Because officially, torrenting or peer-to-peer networks are not illegal, but what you share then becomes something legal or illegal. All right. So what you see here is two examples of issues under ethical aspects and technology, whereby you see adwares and spywares. So adwares are still evidently around, right? Displaying advertisements. I think we due to what our browser allows us to do, this may be much lesser now. You see lesser pop-ups, you see lesser banner ads. But to be honest, it depends on what you're accessing. Yeah, if you access a lot of cracked sites, and also, of course, in terms of torrent sites, you realize advertisements are much more there. Yeah. Spywares, on the other hand, is something that happens more with in the background, because you are not even aware that you have basically downloaded a spyware. Yeah. But what it is there mainly to do is it is basically just capturing information about you and sending it to a specific person. Yeah. And when we say information here, it can go right down to what do you surf and look at online, what do you type in as a username and password, how long do you spend time on certain sites, and so on and so forth. All right. So when it comes to cybersecurity, now these three areas are important, right? To identify three different types of vulnerabilities. So the first one says unauthorized access to data. Second one is when you attack system resources. So these are normally looking at physical devices and machines. But there's also another huge aspect of cybersecurity where the attacks are happening on networks. They don't attack your devices physically, but they attack your network overall. Yeah. So I'm sharing this site from Kaspersky. I've always liked going to their site to get updates about malware, anything to do with viruses or worms or Trojan horses. And it is quite straightforward, and most importantly, it is actually updated as well. Yeah. So from the vulnerabilities that you saw earlier, it relates directly to what you see here, the different types of cybersecurity. So as not just a company, as an individual, you need to look into this as well. First, the security of your data. Yeah, understanding that the information and files that you keep, there is some form of data security involved there. System security. So system security, of course, then goes into your physical hardwares, also going into your softwares and programs. Yeah. Network security then goes into the aspect of your network and communications devices, right? So it can be the internet. What kind of service do you use as an internet service provider? So these three areas, you must be able to differentiate them clearly. Yeah. So after talking about all the problems, I think we will move a bit into the solutions as well. So as you can see here, email monitoring is one area that must be looked into a bit more heavily. We are very lucky. You are very lucky. You are currently living in a world where your emails are very well protected, yeah, by the providers. I come from a time when emails are very new and a lot of different issues can happen through your own email, and that's why I belong to the generation that when you even register for an email, you don't even put your actual details. Yeah, you put a fake name, you put a fake birth date, you put everything you put in there is basically fake. Yeah, everything that is not you. But nowadays you don't normally see that. We are even seeing more and more of those of you who incorporates your name into your email as well, because you want it to be a branding of yourself as well, and which I think is always a good thing to do. Virus defenses. Yeah, I'm assuming everyone in class uses some form of an antivirus. But I notice more and more today do not use an antivirus, because what do you use? You just use Windows Defender. How many of you is just relying on your Windows Defender and you do not use any other antivirus softwares? Can I see a show of hands? Can I see you raising your hands? Is that a lot or is that very little? I see less than 10. Okay, it's more than 10 now. I wonder where's all my IT students. Oh, most of the hands that go up are all not the IT students by the looks of it, I think. All right, okay. So thank you. You can lower your hands. Now, I'm not here saying that Windows Defender is not good or it sucks or you shouldn't be using it. But again, with all antivirus softwares, it is important on how updated it is and what exactly it is able to monitor and what exactly it is able to do. Yeah, there's a lot of free versions out there. I know it myself. Kaspersky, even on its own, has its own version itself as well. But it all goes back down towards what kind of sites you are going to and what kind of threats that can actually affect you as well. So those are just as important. Yeah. Samuel says, my friend told me all antivirus softwares are just a waste of space. As long as you are careful, Windows Defender is good enough. Why are there so many different types of antivirus softwares? Because there is an antivirus software for every single person out there. Yeah, so it depends. Like I said, it's actually for your usage and for what purpose do you want to use an antivirus software particularly for. Yeah. So obviously there are other ways of protecting yourself. Security codes, multi-level password systems. Passwords are encrypted. These are very common today as well. Smart cards with microprocessors, smart cards with RFID, like your own student ID as well. Backing up your files is just as important, right? The users are just as responsible to do so. And of course, for organizations, a bit more common is how they have a whole system security monitor. Yeah, they look into if there's any issues that can be triggered, that can trigger basically their security system. All right. Biometrics is another application as well, another solution here as well. So you see voice verification, fingerprint, retinal scan, hand scan, facial scan as well, right? So for those of you who have been to APU, we do facial scan here as well. So those are the biometrics which are available. All right. Other than voice, fingerprint, retinal scan, hand, and face, yeah. Other than these 5, do you know any others? I'm going to skip this question actually, but I'm just going to go to the one here instead. So there are others as well, yeah. So if they are the ones which are more than what you see here, you can even type it into the chat. So there's a difference between retina and iris recognition. Yeah, there's a difference between those two. A DNA matching can also be considered a biometric authentication method. Yeah, you saw voice there earlier. Look at this down here, ear shape recognition. Yeah, and this has been proven. Yeah, this has been proven. All of our ears, every single individual's ear has a unique shape and pattern to it. All right. Encryption, as highlighted earlier, so this is until today yet still the most effective method on making sure that messages or information which are being sent over the internet is protected. Yeah, because then they are being converted into something that no one can understand, and of course it can easily be converted back after that, so that the receiver can understand what the actual message is. So when it comes to firewalls, these are used everywhere. Most organizations use it. Don't talk about organizations alone. We as users use it as well, right? Most of our, by default, if all of you are using Windows, for example, your firewalls are by default basically on. It's always by default turned on, and it is up to you. The firewall here is only a filter, yeah? It's just basically working as a filter to then get you to then decide whether you want to allow certain things or not allow certain things to get through. So there are many different security measures. We have run through most of them that you see here. Of course, without saying, goes without saying is that antivirus is definitely one of the highly used security technology. Yeah, VPN, you don't really need to know what a VPN is at this point of time, but I know some of you are subscribed to it and it can be quite useful as well. Intrusion detection systems, again, companies are very interested in these. Content filtering, content monitoring, using encryption, that's what public key infrastructure means. Smart cards, and of course, some usage of biometric as well. To be fair, yeah, some of these percentage that you see here is a bit older. It's probably about, I think it's easily more than 5 years ago. So some of these percentages have definitely changed. For example, usage of biometrics as a security technology has definitely increased as well. Yeah. So again, with Kaspersky, the reason I'm promoting their site is not because I'm promoting their product. I'm actually promoting that they have a very complete resource center. Yeah, if you look at the wordings on the top here, the resource center and as well as the blog, it is something that they have which is very complete. Yeah, so that's why I like it, and you can get a lot of additional information from their site as well. Yeah, they are an official organization, therefore referencing them will also be fine. The only issue is that some of the information that they post here, it may end up being something that they update from time to time, yeah, which they change from time to time. So you need to be careful with that when you are referencing something as such. Okay. All right, so we are towards the end. This is just showing cybersecurity and threat attacks, what type of threats are there. But if you notice, we didn't just talk about the threats, we also highlighted in terms of how you should be able to protect yourself as well. So this is one website that covers all of that. Yeah, it's not just covering what are the issues you go through. As you can see here, it is also covering in terms of what can be done. Even covering the ones that organizations should definitely look into. Yeah. This is again another additional resource that I wanted to share with you. I think that it is quite important to look into. This is a valid issue even as of today. Yeah. So when I say it's a valid issue, I hope everyone understands that having freedom on the internet is important, and especially to the younger generation. Yeah. When you look across the world, there is quite a number of countries where you don't find internet freedom fully available there. Yeah. Look at this circle here with all the colors indicated. What does the color mean? Is that so government authorities investigated, arrested, or convicted people for their social media posts in at least 55 countries. So all the countries indicated here that there has been something in relation to something that their citizens have posted, either on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on YouTube, and so on and so forth, and they have been convicted for it. Yeah, they were punished for it. Interestingly to say, you see Malaysia here as well. Yeah, so this is true. This is something that there has been people being placed behind bars because of what they have been spreading and writing on social media platforms or communication platforms. Yeah, it's happening a lot. More and more countries are banning certain websites. They are limiting in terms of what access that you basically have when you are accessing the internet. So this is just for you to basically know about mainly. All right, awesome. We are done. Just nice, slightly over the hour, but the good thing is that the second topic is not going to take too long. Yeah, we will go for a quick break, but I wanted to at least put this here so that all of you can start signing in and to get into quizzes. So at the same time, let's just go for a 5 minutes break. Because probably I would like to go for a washroom break myself. So hopefully this loads accordingly for you. Oh my, it's not loading for me by the looks of it. All right, it's finally loaded. I'm just going to leave this here so that you can still see the timer at the same time. Yeah, that is the code. I will share the link in your chat as well. And at the same time, as you can see, let me just reset this lah. Huh? Your 5-minute break starts now. Okay, all right. If you all can hear me and see me, do raise your hands. All right, thank you. You can lower your hands. We shall now move on to the very final topic of your semester, which is technology planning and transfer. Now, out of all of the topics, this is the only one that takes you through a bit on a very organizational basis for you to look at, because it speaks about technology planning and transfer and looking at technology trends. Yeah. Especially the first two parts of it that covers planning and transfer is a lot to do with organizational aspects in relation to technology and lesser to do with individuals. All right. So first things first is, of course, understanding what technology planning is. So as you will see here, of course, overall, you must be, in order to execute something, you must first be able to plan it first. Yeah. All of you can lower your hands, but I notice still one of you, your hand is raised. So you must be able to plan ahead, because if you fail to plan, as you always hear the phrase, you basically plan to fail. Yeah. If you have a goal that you want to achieve, but you don't have a plan, you can't really call that a goal anymore. That's basically just something you wish that you can do. Yeah. Because there's nothing proper to basically support it. So planning becomes important, because then it goes through the final point at the bottom here, as you can see, right? Planning involves assessing your existing resources, knowing what you have, defining your needs, yeah, knowing what you need, and then, of course, exploring what is available out there. So technology planning basically takes you through this, what I would like to say, quite a common sense step in order for you to achieve obtaining the right type of technology for the company. Yeah. So the first thing here that you can see is that it is something that is ongoing, right? Because your business mission and objectives and gaps can change and can evolve. Therefore, it needs to always, whenever there's a change here and there's an evolution here, your technological evaluations will go along as well. Yeah, it must be something that goes along the way as you are planning and you continuously do it. So I wanted to share this position here because I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it. A lot of organizations today have a CTO, yeah, a chief technology officer or chief technological officer or chief technical officer. Some organizations call it CIO, chief information officer, or some of it call it CKO, right, chief knowledge officer. And why am I highlighting all these positions? Because they are the ones who do all the planning for the organizations, basically. Yeah. So you see strategy and planning. I see something in the chat. Samuel says, oh yeah, Samuel said first, probably before I even mentioned it. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. Sardar says you just forget to. I just forget to what? What did I forget to? I think Sardar is chatting somewhere else and he typed this here. No? Yes? Moving on. So as you can see, as a chief technology officer, yeah, you will definitely need to go through the areas of strategy and planning, resources, budget, customer engagement, leadership, IT infrastructure, innovation, and adoption, right? So it covers quite a wide area in relation to any decisions the company and the business would take when it comes to evaluating technology. So there are several phases that you're going to see after this, but essentially, I want you to look at the flow. I want you to see what happens before and what is the sequence of the steps that comes along after that, right? First things first is always to evaluate the environment for the innovative users of technology. In your assignment, you're doing a lot of this. Yeah, you're always evaluating what's going on around the technology as well, and not just focusing within the technology alone, right? You're looking into its effects and impacts, you're looking into the life cycle, you're looking into, so a lot of areas that you actually consider. Define the desired results. You must have a goal, all right? If you ask an organization, should they buy new technology? Yeah, I think the answer is always a yes. Yeah, the answer most of the time will be a yes. If they don't specify what the particular result or goal or aim that they would like to achieve. If you don't have a direction, then you realize you will always end up just getting new technology. But that will be a problem, because when you get new technology, you must have a specific goal attached to it. Identify the core technologies needed for meeting the vision and focus on those first. Yeah, so this relate to the process that you saw earlier. Evaluate what you have, evaluate your own resources, understand what exactly you want to achieve. Yeah, and then focus on those, and then you start identifying, all right, so these technologies are the ones that help us to achieve our goal. Because if it doesn't, those should not be your focus, and those should not be the first areas you look into. So there are four main areas here. First, identify the remaining technologies applicable to the mission or business area and state, right? So you identify what you have. You establish a quantifiable feedback system to measure progress. When you adopt a new technology, yeah, when a company buys a new technology, they must be able to quantify. They must be able to measure exactly what have they done. They must be able to measure in terms of progress. If you tell an organization that they should buy a certain software because that software helps them to do their work faster, company must be able to measure it. You cannot just say it and just say that, yeah, if we buy this devices, then our staff will work faster. And then no measurement, no one know what goes on. After 6 months using it, right? Let's say the finance department decided to come back and ask, so did we achieve what we wanted to achieve by buying all these new devices for our staff? Right? And then no one knows the answer. So that becomes an issue. Everything that the company invests into, especially when it comes to planning for technology, they must be able to justify. You assess the current state of the organization, implementing the plan, and then you develop tactical plans with measurable goals to implement the strategy. So when you look at the description of the phases, right, they're not something that that is out of the ordinary or out of this world, right? They are very logical steps in place on how to plan for technology. So breaking it down, you first need to form a roadmap. Yeah, you first need to form what needs to be done first, what needs to be done later, and so on and so forth, which means you're just breaking it down into phases. So a roadmap identifies those phases. Assess, right? You assess the overall costing, the life cycle of the technology itself. You do not want to invest into something knowing that actually next year is going to expire already. I understand that there are some technologies you don't have a choice, but you need to invest into them every year. But not all technologies work the same way, right? And companies are always looking forward to invest a bit into the future so that they don't need to change their technology every single year. They want to look a bit further into the future to then know that they only need to invest every 5 years or every 3 years, for example. Yeah, educate everyone. Everyone in the organization must be educated if that technology is implemented. Yeah, a few people will make the decision to buy that technology, but it now requires everyone to be educated about that technology, especially those who are directly affected by it. And then you implement your plan according to that, according to how all of the measurements and periodic reviews we were talking about earlier, right? You need to measure to say that, oh, all right, the goal was to actually get productivity to increase. So did our productivity increase? The goal was to target with this new marketing tool we have, our sales will go up. Did sales really go up because of the tool, right? So you need to evaluate those areas. And of course, you must always review this. So you saw this earlier as well. It is a cycle. You reach towards the end, you review it, you look at your company goals, you then look at if there is a necessity to then adopt new technologies as you go as well. All right. So I'm just giving here, this is something additional you won't find in your slides as well, but the ones that I'm showing you here now, this is another way of putting it, but a lot of the steps you will notice are quite similar. Essentially, ideally, is actually the same with what you saw and is being explained to you earlier. Yeah, but they are just worded a bit differently. So that's basically it for technology planning. Yeah, it's just revealing to you the activities, the phases, what is important first. You must always do an assessment of yourself, right, of the organization, understand what is needed, what is your goal, what do you intend to achieve. Then you go ahead and plan, and you roll out your plan accordingly according to a roadmap and so on. The second part, which is the other half of this topic, is technology transfer. Yeah, so this can be quite interesting because with recent years, a lot of activities of technology transfer has been taking place. Yeah, it's as simple as if an organization buys Microsoft products, yeah, is there technology transfer there? The answer is an immediate yes. The answer is a definite yes. Yeah, there is some form of technology transfer there, because then Microsoft is providing the technology from they are the source, and then the customer now becomes a receiver, right, to basically utilize that technology and so on and so forth. So as you can see, it says here is the process of how technology is disseminated. It obviously involves communication from an owner to a recipient. It is a form of technology transaction which may or may not be legally binding according to the contract. Yeah. So when you use a lot of the solutions you have today, right, whatever software that you bought before, or applications and programs that you are basically utilizing now, like for most of you who are playing games and you're playing games on Steam, for example, there is most of the time uh, that transaction that you've had with the organization, there is some form of a binding contract. Whether they are legal or not legal, then it may involve both as well. Yeah, but it is basically a binding contract between you as the recipient who's utilizing the software and program or application with the organization that is providing it. Yeah. So the definition is that main word you saw just now, a process that permits the flow from a source to a receiver, a process by which science and technology are transferred from one individual or group to another. Yeah. So there's three different definitions here, but they're all essentially saying the same thing. All right. And after this, we will then look into the different levels of what they can cover. So another definition is highlighted here, a process of for conceiving and implementing a new novel application. I can get you to just ignore this because the one that you saw earlier is sufficient enough as a definition already. But more importantly is what the aim is, right? As you can see being highlighted here, why is technology transfer so important, right? So as you can see overall, the first one, it says a valuable step in the development life cycle leading to successful commercial manufacturing. So the whole idea here is that it is something, technology transfer is also a business model, right? It's also a business model. A lot of organizations provide these solutions. On the other hand, a lot of organizations require these solutions as well to use these solutions. All the gathered knowledge, use it as a basis. Third point, the approach to process qualification and ongoing continuous improvement. Yeah. One of the ways that companies can always look into and rely on, right, is rather than doing their own research and development and developing their own solutions, is to basically go to a source and to gain those technologies instead, and they will just be the recipient on the other end. All right. The last point is quite important. To verify parameters established during development are still within the determined design space and or adjusted at scale up. So one of the reasons that companies will be interested in technology transfer is that because they can measure, right? They can benchmark themselves to then know that where they are now, should they be doing better? Should they be investing over into a better technology? So how can they find out? A lot of these providers overall will give them a way to assess themselves as we go. Yeah. So the overall process that takes place, it can come in different forms. You see patenting is here. You see licensing is also a process of how technology transfer happens and therefore allows a business model, some form of commercialization can then basically happen through that. There are three different types of technology transfer here. So you can technology transfer within the institution. This is interesting enough because you will find out that there are some technologies only certain departments are exposed to. Yeah, but it doesn't mean other departments cannot use it. So if it's intramural, it means it's within the institution. Yeah, if it's extramural, I think this is simple enough. It's across. It's a transfer between company across companies. Yeah, so it's not within the company. This will be across the company, from one company to another. Public or private, of course, this is the one that is publicly funded. It can be something that is based on communities and so on and so forth as well. Yeah, this is becoming quite popular. For those of you who have not heard of it, maybe some of the technology students, computer technology students have heard of it. This will cover things like open source, any type of open source software, right? Yeah, because most of them is public. They're all for public usage. Public access is allowed there. But some private companies, of course, take them up and provide you with much more customized solutions using those open source softwares. Then, of course, those are the ones that require some form of payment as well. So when you try evaluating the different categories, these are the examples of them. Horizontal technology transfer, whereby as you can see, is basically referring to what you saw as extramural there, yeah, from one company to another. So you see licensing is an example here. Vertical technology transfer, right? So as you can see, this is basically one that happens. It can be across industries as well. Yeah, it can be. Sorry, it's not across industry. It is something that is that starts from basic research to go into basically application. Yeah. Another example other than nanotechnology here is the one that I will always highlight and is my go-to example is from NASA. Yeah, a lot of space technologies where they were just doing it for basic research. They're just utilizing it for research purposes. When it came back to Earth, when they brought it back to Earth, a lot of its applications were then used for production, for manufacturing, for other areas as well. Yeah, because of the evaluation in space, they learn something new about certain materials, then they can come down and use it. So that is the vertical type of technology transfer. International, I'm not going to explain much here. It's across borders, yeah, across boundaries, national boundaries. Regional is from one region to another. It is most of the time referring to within the country. Cross-industry, as highlighted earlier, from space programs to other types of commercial application as well. Inter-firm technology transfer is from one firm to the other, and this can be this can be what you saw earlier in relation to intramural. Yeah, intra-firm, of course, then from one is just a matter of from one location to another. So what's the difference here is that it can be from one branch to another. Yeah, it can be from one branch to another. Inter-firm, as highlighted, is just basically from one company to the other. Yeah. All right, so as shown here, when we look at the different categories on how technology transfer can basically happen, I definitely want to highlight one of the most common ways of how technology transfer happens today is you buy another company. Yeah, so it's not really merging. Some are merging together, but they both still maintain their names. But some is just being acquired by a different company. Yeah. So you see there's a few significant circles here. Yeah, Meta, as we know it now with their new company name, owns all the major four players here, from Facebook to WhatsApp to Messenger and Instagram. Yeah. Of course, YouTube is still under Google, under Alphabet. Google is under Alphabet as well. The ones that Microsoft owns, Snap, Twitter, Pinterest, Reddit. Over here, not forgetting, for those of you who know about Tencent and who do they own, yeah. So if you notice here, things like Baidu, I think most of you who are aware of it will know that that is also a very popular search engine. This is their own version. Under Tencent, this is their own version of a TikTok platform. Telegram has grown a lot, honestly, just because all these platforms went down last year as well. And that has basically encouraged a lot of people to adopt Telegram instead. So this is another form on how technology transfer is happening, whereby one industry is being taken over by the other. All right. So first thing we're going to look at is, oh, the numbers are missing. I wonder why. So these are three different types of transfer models. Yeah, three different types of transfer models. So one is through a bridging agency. So this is simple enough. How do you obtain certain technologies? You go through a third party. Yeah, you go through a third party whereby the third party can be the government, departments, can be some financial institutions, can be some agencies, some consultants, some venture capital companies. I think I showed you for business and technology startups. Yeah, startups.org, for example. So they are what you call agents that allows you as a startup where you're just you want to start your business. Yeah, they are then the bridging agency for you to then reach out and to know and to identify what kind of technologies can you adopt. The second model is the R&D model. So this is the one which is very internal. Yeah, you research and you develop and you distribute and basically do the adoption all on your own. you do your own R&D, right, in order to obtain a new technology. The third one, as being shown here, is a problem solver model. So instead of you just doing research and try identifying what improvements you can do, you go by problems. Yeah, you identify specific problems in the organization that you are facing. You start off with that. You propose solutions. You look alternative of solutions to particularly solve that problem with technology. So this is the one that we refer to as a problem solver model, right? I'm putting this here because I want to introduce you to the term white paper. This is not within your class, yeah. This is not within your syllabus, but I think for you to understand what a white paper is quite important. Why white paper is an example here is referring to the last technology transfer model, which is problem solving model. Organizations who have identified a specific problem that is affecting them, and then they propose solution into it, and they publish it to the public, is called a white paper, right? You will find all the larger organizations, they love doing this. What do? They identify a problem. They prove that the problem really exists and is affecting a lot of people. What additional problems that comes together with it? What are the basic solution that is already available? And how are they trying to solve it innovatively? So white papers can be very useful. So from now on, when you're doing a search, right, I would suggest if sometimes you don't find what you need, you may include the word white paper as well, because that will be quite an advantage for you, right? So the overall, this is referring to the summary model whereby you see development. This is commonly when you try to put everything all together, yeah. From that, we move into the three transfer models you saw earlier. Now you see there are three transfer modes. It can be passive, it can be semi-active, it can be active as well. So the first one, which is the passive mode, you notice the arrows are a bit different. Yeah, the technology base where the organization is and where the user is, they must all come together in order to access those technical information. Where is this available? It is available as publications. It is available in some database somewhere. So this is what is considered the passive mode. Yeah, as users, you must then go and find this information and adopt it yourself. On the technology side, they must do the same thing as well. The semi-active mode, on the other hand, if you notice what is additional here now, you don't just see the technology base, the technology information and the user. You notice this is a new box that is added in between, right? So what's the difference here is that these are the ones that accelerates the whole process for you. So rather than the user trying to access the technology information directly and trying to know how things work, you have agents in between that help you to either make the process faster for you, either help you to customize the details for you. So this is where semi-active is. Yeah, an agent exists in between. Last but not least is the active mode. So the active mode here, the difference is that you don't see this just being an agent now. You see them being the champion, and they are the ones who are consistently gaining more information about the technology and making sure that it is transferred accordingly to the user. Yeah. So when it comes to the modes, it's just for you to understand in terms of how they work differently. All right. So don't worry too much about looking at the different modes and models that you see there. It's just understanding that there can be different ways on how technology transfer works. So in terms of the routes, on top of what you saw earlier when I showed you how companies are just buying each other to transfer technology, of course there's other areas as well, licensing, franchising, joint venture where they merge together, turnkey project, which is just a duplicate. APU used to do it a lot, but of course now much lesser. We know the college that we established here, it works. So what do? We go to different parts of the world and we establish the same college there as well. Yeah, so we used to have, the word is used to. We used to have presence in Pakistan. We used to have presence in India. We used to have presence in Sri Lanka as well. Yeah, and that is what we call a turnkey project. How do you transfer technology in that way? You just build you just copy paste yourself and put one there as well. Of course, they all utilizes the local resources there. Yeah, investment, foreign direct investment, FDI is also another way as well. If you notice, a lot of countries are doing this, right? Such as the example is that they open manufacturing plant in different countries in the world. Yeah, they put their marketing department in a different country. They put their sales department in a different country. They put their R&D department in a different country. Yeah, so that's why it's called a foreign direct investment. Of course, at the bottom here is technical consortium and joint R&D project, whereby several organizations are working together in order to find a common solution for each other at the end of the day. So this was something that was posted about a year ago, right? So on top of what I've shown you earlier, for example, who own all those social media platforms, there are other news as well in terms of what different larger organizations has been buying. Yeah, Nvidia has who has basically acquired the company ARM, right? Which in terms of their microprocessors are widely being used, and they have bought over the whole company. AMD as well, Salesforce as well, who has bought over Slack, which is a very popular communication platform, and the list goes on, right? Uber also has bought another company, Adobe as well, Facebook as well, and the list goes on. Okay, so there's a lot of acquiring and acquisition and technology mergers, as you can see, that has been happening from time to time, and these are all related towards planning for technology and transferring technology itself as well. All right. We have reached the end. The last point is just to highlight to you in terms of technological trends. So you have done a bit of this. I do understand that we have definitely looked into these areas as well. Some of this, to be honest, is slightly a bit outdated. So you do not need to do not worry too much if you see some of the examples here and you don't know them. I wanted to show you this instead, because then the whole idea of looking at technology trend is trying to identify the future. Yeah. So this was a report that was shared by the World Economic Forum, WEF. Even though it's about 6 to 7 years ago, but there were a few things that has been highlighted, and some of them which is mentioned here that is expected to occur by 2025 has already been occurring as well. Yeah. 10% of people wearing clothes and reading glasses that are connected to the internet. 1 trillion sensors are connected to the internet. The first robotic pharmacists, the first 3D printed car in production, transplant of a 3D printed liver. This is already there. It's not even, we are still 3 years away from 2025. A driverless car equaling 10%, 90% of the population using smartphones. We are very close to hitting this already as well. So in terms of the trend, I think it's important to establish that when you're connecting this towards society, what kind of impact does it bring along as well? Yeah. For those of you who are interested to look at the more updated report as well. Why am I showing you this here? Because I also want to suggest to you that whenever you're looking for references, remember, don't always just look for blogs. Yeah, blogs alone are not reliable. Where else can you get a good, reliable information from, and it can be updated? Reports. So the one I'm showing you here, for example, is called the Network of Global Future Councils. Again, by a very established organization, the World Economic Forum. Yeah, and they have established their own councils as well. And they cover many different areas of technology: advanced manufacturing, biotech, cybersecurity, energy technologies, health and healthcare, infrastructure, media, entertainment, and culture. So you can see new network technologies, quantum computing. And what they cover there, interestingly, with the information that they provide to you, they do give you additional links and references to other areas as well. Yeah. So this was their, there are simple and quick reports on certain things that they have done. Yeah, some projects that they have worked on. If they have initiated some webinars in relation to it, you see those links here. It takes you to those information as well. Yeah, so I will repeat myself to then say that the reason I'm showing you this is that you can also get very reliable references from proper reports in relation to technology and highlighting certain things that they have been doing, which is something that you know you can easily use to your advantage. Yeah. So this is actually someone presenting on the same point of the report, but the good thing is that it has been summarized and simplified. Yeah. So I'm just leaving this here for you to then take a look at. You saw this same slide coming from there as well, but it can be quite useful for you to evaluate it in relation to technological trends. All right. We are done. So if some of you feel that the last two topics was probably rushed through, to be honest, they are meant to be more of information being provided to you. Yeah, it's not necessarily that there is a lot of those which are coming at very practical applications that goes to you as a student. Yeah, because they are on a much more higher level. It involves organizations and so on. Okay. I shall now move into the report and presentation guideline. For those of you who are not aware, it is within Teams. Let me just open Teams again so that all of you are aware that it is there. So if you go into General and you go into Files, class materials, assignment, you will find the document there. Yeah, I've already posted it onto Teams anyway. So there's I'm probably more open to listening for questions from you rather than me really going through all the areas, because it is quite straightforward. Yeah. So I'll rather be hearing for questions from you instead. So there's an assignment cover from point 1. It all breaks down. The first 4 points here is the one that you need to take note about. Yeah, there's a very clear table of contents. I'm quite sure you are using graphics and figures, so you need to put a table for that as well, labeling all the images that you're using. And then you go into a work breakdown structure, which obviously involves who does what in the group. And then each weekly task will come along from point number 5 to point number 14. All right. You then go into conclusion for point number 15 and you provide your references overall for everything that is here. Yeah. So make sure, I think it's not particularly mentioned here, but you are all aware that it will be APA referencing. Questions? I'll just stop for a few seconds to hear for any questions. Oh, I forgot to enable all of you to be able to chat. But by the looks of it, I'm not noticing anyone wanting to mention anything anyway. No questions here. Does that mean everyone is clear? Everyone knows what to do? Does it all have to be in this specific order? Because my group wrote intro to the tag and then components of the tag next. Okay, all right. So my answer to Aiden is that I've given you all the points here. Make sure you follow accordingly to it, because then it makes it easier for me to mark as well. If I see intro to tech and then components of the technology, when I'm marking, I'll just put there company background not found and I'll just move on. Alam says no questions. Sarah says all good. All right. Anyone else? No? Presentation guidelines. So this is the one that probably was not highlighted enough before, that you now need to know and be very clear about. But again, my written instructions, I think, is very clear. Yeah. This is going to happen in week 12. Your submission is in week 12. What time you want to do it is totally up to you, yeah? Because I'm only going to be there to review your recording. I'm not joining you during your live presentation. You are just doing it among yourself. You are recording it, and then you will be tagging me to say that the recording is now here, right? And this is what we are officially submitting as our presentation recording. Duration for each group is about 30 minutes. Yeah. Oh wait, I thought okay, yeah. Duration for each group is about 30 minutes maximum. Yeah. You should not go anything more than 30 minutes. And normally when I say that, I know some of you will come back to me and then say, is 5 minutes too short, sir? The duration doesn't say what is the minimum. It only highlights the maximum. So it's totally up to you on how you intend to present. Yeah. Presentation slide required is less than 20. Of course, incorporate all this information so that I can identify that to know that it is from your group. All the main areas which are covered here must be highlighted. And of course, towards the future, this is where it's slightly a bit different. If you notice, future of technology in 5 years from now, each member need to justify individually. So this is the only one part that I want to hear from everyone, especially talking about the future of technology. Yeah. Jamil say minimum duration. Oh, okay, all right. I'm not sure if you posted first or I mentioned it first, but anyway, I knew you guys will always ask about it. Yeah. So up to you. Present for 1 minute, record it, and then submit. No problem. Yeah, no problem at all because it doesn't say a minimum. It only says maximum. References towards the end. So you may not compile all of your references there. You may want to feature the more important ones that you have been using. Yeah. So again, yeah, don't dump all of your references there in the slide itself. Method of delivery is simple. I'm quite sure all of you have run meetings in your private channels before, right? So now you're basically going to do the same thing. The only difference is that you're recording it. And once you're done recording it, you must immediately tag me. Yeah, you must immediately tag me to say that this is considered our official submission. So the timing that I see on that video recording will be considered your submission, and I will update it on my end. Okay, so let's be clear with that. So in terms of the submission, is then considered as and when you have officially provided the recording itself. Okay. Yeah, it's just highlighting for point number 6 is to record the presentation. Following guidelines are important to consider. Plan ahead, make detailed notes and practice. I think this goes without saying. Obviously, you have to do that. Be yourself. Don't be too nervous and thinking that you must be very formal, but you are basically presenting what you have done, right? Be aware of your sound quality. Always take note of that. Use clear and concise sentences. Go straight forward. Don't drag the time just because I put there 30 minutes. You're trying to hit 30 minutes. Ensure that your camera is switched on. Yeah, so obviously both audio and camera must be switched on as well. The PowerPoint slides guideline, I'm not going to read this to you because I think there are just general guidelines on how you should be creating your PowerPoint slides overall. Yeah, so that I will let you read on your own. It's just talking about formatting overall and using certain type of fonts, using sizing it properly and so on. Questions on the presentation? Okay, so that sounds like there are no questions. So we are good there as well. So all of you are aware and you know exactly what to do. And I see a first question here. Singfong says, are we allowed to use other websites to create the slides instead of using PowerPoint? All right, interesting point. So if you want to use a different platform to basically create your PowerPoint slides, the only thing you need to ensure is that when you must be able to share this with me. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, you must be able for me to have more or less, how should I put it? I must be able to have access to your presentation. If it's PowerPoint slides, I know all of you can just send me your PowerPoint slides. Yeah, so that is really not an issue. But if it's on a different platform and you're not able to share it with me so that I gain access whenever I want to look at the presentation, then it becomes a problem. So what do I mean by that? If you notice, yeah. So what exactly are you submitting here then? Oh wait, let me just go. First, this is your group report. Yeah. Your group report is quite straightforward. It is essentially just the whole document itself, right? The overall document in terms of the report itself, right? Everything is into one documentation that you are submitting, yeah? Before I forget, this submission, if I have not highlighted to you before, every single member must be able to click submit. You must have access to Moodle. You must be able to click submit. Only then the submission will be considered official. Yeah, all right. So please take note of that. I'm highlighting that again. It is important for you to know and understand that. All right. If any one of your members have not clicked submitted, that whole group assignment is considered not submitted because it will be written here that it is not submitted. Yeah, so it affects everyone. Yes, it affects everyone. So everyone needs to keep, you need to keep each other on your toes to double check on that. Okay, so please ensure that. And on the other hand, you notice that there is a second link, which is your presentation slide and video. Yeah. So what you are doing here is simple. Once you are done recording, your slide, if it's a PowerPoint slide, I know you can upload it directly here. So there's no issues there. Yeah. If it's your slide, I know you can upload it directly here. For the video, I'm leaving it up to you whether you want to upload the video itself. Otherwise, make sure the link is available here somewhere. Yeah. Both practices are allowed. All right, so that's why it says there's a separate submission here. It says both presentation slide as well as the video. For some of you, if it's much more easier, you are done with the recording, you have tagged me and informed me there, download that video, right? That video is now on OneDrive and you know you can easily download it. Let's make it simple so that it's not confusing for everyone. Your slide copy must be there. Your video needs to be uploaded here as well. Yeah. In the settings, I've already set it that you can upload multiple documents here, and it goes all the way up to 1 gig, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. For a 30-minute video, it should not take anywhere even close to that capacity. Yeah, for you to upload it here. So, going back to what Seng Fong basically says, whatever platform you use as a presentation slide, you must be able to upload it here, to provide it here, right? If it's a link, I must be able to look at the link and access it and still view it. As and when I'm marking, if I suddenly look at it, I'm assessing your presentation and trying to provide you scores here, and I'm not able to access it, I will consider that that basically I'm not able to view the presentation slides. Yeah, so please be careful with that. You must make sure it can be made available to me. So this is 9% as it is clearly stated here, while the group report is 21%. So overall, this is where your 30% come from for your whole module. All right, 10% is done. Your class test has been over. Oh, I think I have not revealed the results to you. I should probably do that the soonest because I'm done marking that. And then group report 21%. The presentation slide and video is 9%. And your individual exam is also confirmed. This is happening on the 21st of February at 2:30 p.m. Yeah. Currently, if you click into it, you will notice that the details are there. The quiz will not be available until it's Monday, 21st February at 2:30, and the quiz will close at 4:45 because the additional 15 minutes given to you is so that you can make sure that you are done with the exam and to click submit as you go along. Yeah, just in case if there are any issues. But we are not encouraging those all of you to use the time all the way to 4:44 and then try clicking submit because, as you know, with technology, anything can happen. All right, I will go a bit more into your exam briefing, but that will be after the break when you come back, because as I do your revision, I will speak a bit more in terms of what you're supposed to expect in the exam. But for now, I want you to focus more on just getting all of your work done, compiling everything together, use next week's break to get everything done, because on the 7th of February, when you come back, that is the day you are submitting. Yeah, 7th February submission of the group report, presentation slide and video recording is by that Friday of the same week. As all of you are already aware, I have informed this to you before. If you go to your general channel, you will notice that revision and exam briefing class for the lecture is happening on Monday. Yeah, I checked all of your timetable. From 2 to 4 p.m. you do not have any classes, so there are no clashing. Because on that week, on the 10th of February, I'm attending a training. I won't be available. I still want to make sure the class is covered because it's your final week. So after today, I'm going to see some of you tomorrow for tutorial. I'm going to see everyone else, all of you again on the Monday after the break at 2 p.m. Yeah? So please make sure everyone is aware here that your lecture for your final week of the semester is not on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30. It's going to be moved to the Monday instead at 2 p.m. So please take note of that. All right, so I see Jawan saying, can we repeat the speaker, or one person should only appear one time while presenting? There's no issues there. You can appear as many times as you want, but you just have to make sure that everyone presents, obviously. Okay, all right. Let's take your attendance, and I think we are done, and you can go. Oops, it's here. All right, so once you are done, that's basically it. Thank you very much. Have a good break for next week as well. And I'll see all of you on the 7th of February. Yeah? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. All right. Looks like everyone is done with the attendance except for 4 of you. If you have an issue, let me know. I see it's, oh no. Oh, Fadi is also done. Ibrahim, interestingly, and Muhammad Bakar. Where are the two of you? Missing. I thought you were here earlier. Anyway, all right. Thank you. Take care, everyone. I will end the call here, and I'll see all of you soon.